Hello, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is Mark Gray, live from Normandy, France, and Andrea Sadegh, live from Vienna, Austria. You've probably, and this is the last show of the year, you've probably or not heard of the following names in the mind control programs and child abuse affairs: Arizona Wilder, Kathy O'Brien, Kelly Sullivan, Fritz Springmeier, Jimmy Savile, in England, Svali, John Todd, Cisco Wheeler. And in the showbiz, recently you've heard of Corey Feldman and Elijah Wood. Miley Cyrus and Lady Gaga talks about PTSD recently, and of course Marilyn Monroe, a vintage classic. And believe it or not, the king of pop himself, Michael Jackson. In the midst of several breaking stories from the US, Europe, Norway, and everywhere, major child trafficking and abuse affairs, trauma-based mind control, and mass satanic rituals on children, like the Pizzagate affair case in the US involving the Clintons, John Podesta, so much for ET disclosure, right? Marina Abramovich, and even involving cannibalism, former British youth players testified about the pedophile ring operated in pro football in the UK. The Millennium Report last summer in 2016 involved the largest pedophile ring in history, 70,000 members, heads of state, etc., etc. What has become of it? France has officially become a dictatorship recently after Manuel Valls passed a law on December 5th, stating that the High Justice Court, known as Breaking Court, is now under government jurisdiction, which means there's no more separation of powers and independence of justice. Not that there had been much of any before. Tonight, we'll discover the world of the occult, secret societies, Freemasonry and black magic, law enforcement, politics, secret intelligence agencies and services, show business and media, demon and Satan worshippers, and are closely connected. They're covering and protecting each other, no matter their ideology, race, origins, or religion. Religions are highly ranked in the child abuse hierarchy on this planet, actually. So tonight, I'm pleased to welcome Andrea Sadegh, live from Austria. Hi, Andrea. How are you?
Hello, Mark. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. This is a very dramatic topic tonight, but we're going to try to do our best to disclose everything you've experienced and gone through. I know that your son Lucky has been heavily used for human experimentation in terms of trauma-based mind control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what can you tell us about it? You found it and you've led a network against torture on toddlers and children since 2013. 2014, right?
Well, I came into this topic when my son was 2.5 years old, coming back from visits from his studies. And he told me the most horrific things, but he didn't tell me the things. He showed me into flashbacks, meaning horrible, horrible pains. He was crying, shouting, going through again and again of these crimes. And within these scenes or happenings, I found out much about the system of the crime. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about waterboarding. He was talking about dissociation, meaning leaving the body. He was showing me how he was hit, how he was trained, that he has to laugh when he was beaten. He had to be on his knees. He had to do some kind of ritualistic movements. It was horrible, and all his pains, his sufferings, his tears. And I was so unlucky. Still, I'm not convinced. He was able to show me perpetrators by chance. He recognized them, and he was able to name them. And partly he was afraid, he was shocked, he was crying, but partly he even was fainting when he saw them. So I soon had a picture that these are not just pedophiles as we saw them before. I saw that these are psychologists, physicians, psychiatrists, high-ranked people in our society, and partly of them I knew personally, so I knew that they're quite clever. And I soon found out that they have done something on a systematic basis, you know. So I tried to, over courts, I tried to have him examined in detail because I knew that the only way to prove all of his sufferings is to would put him into an MRI scan or a CT scan, or have him examined via nuclear medical examination in great detail. And of course, they refused everything. And in these days, I had no clue about satanic ritual abuse. I had no idea that trauma-based mind control would exist. But what I did, I wrote down line by line, as my son Lucky told me everything. Partly I made audio tapes and brought it into court. Short story, I passed the psychiatrical exam without no problems. 3 weeks later, they took him away because the Child Protection Center claimed he would be insane, ignoring the exam, and then they just went on programming on him. And again, 6 months later, I finally found the terms satanic ritual abuse and trauma-based mind control. And for this reason, I decided to inform others, to inform psychiatrists, parents, nursery teachers, people working in the social field, that they can recognize the symptoms of toddlers and children, because it's quite difficult. You really have to look at the symptoms, and you have to listen what they're telling you. So trauma-based mind control was founded then.
Okay, so you've been the only Austrian woman mother who has been fighting and taken your case to court, right?
No, there are many court cases, but they are avoiding the catchphrase. Meaning, if you say, my child has had to suffer satanic ritual abuse, they are just writing the child would have been abused. So actually, someone, I don't think anyone, I don't know who has done for that. If we would look closely to the child abuse cases, we soon would find thousands over thousands satanic ritual abuse cases, and then for the next step, trauma-based mind control cases. So it's all covered up by the term child abuse.
Okay, but it's more than regular, just simple child abuse. It's really satanic ritual abuse. It's torture. Yeah. It's crucifixion. You even told me about.
Yeah, yeah.
And tell us about the dissociation phenomenon that they're triggering in the kid. What is this all about?
I mean, their main aim via torture is to get a dissociated child, so and a broken child. The mind should get broken, so they have many parts of the mind which they can program. We all have heard of the stories that a child can then have, even as an adult, 5, 6 to hundreds of personalities. So this is the result they want to have. And these personalities should not know something from each other. And for this, you need deliberate torture, and you need exact torture. So it's cynical, but the torture nights within these groups, or also from the governmental side, are highly appreciated, because you need to know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. And the soul, their purpose is to make the from trauma, the trauma-based torture event on the child is to make the soul leave the physical body and container. And what do they do then? That has to do with demons and Satan. Is they possess the physical container of the child, right?
Yes, partly, definitely, yes. There are I I met over the last years quite a lot of heavily programmed survivors, and many of them have personalities that are completely accessed by kind of entities, but however we want to call them or name them. Yes. Also realized in those days, this I did not report to court because it was in those days far too dangerous to report it. But also my son, with 2.5 years, showed me one personality, and this personality had completely black eyes, no white inside. And I found out later, many years later, actually, over an interview that with David Icke, that he was saying when this is happening, then the entity is very strong within this personality. And it's like, you know, I was a loving mother and taking care of my child, and all of a sudden you have the child with the flashbacks, with the highly traumatization, and all of a sudden within such a personality you see your child with completely black eyes. So it's really one shock after the next. And what I decided is I decided not to go into my feelings in this topic, because I would not have been able to help my son, and I would not have to be able to talk about it now or help others.
Right. So your situation, basically, you cannot have access to your son, and the last time they let you see him was last summer, right?
No, it was in summer 2015.
2015, right?
Yeah.
Last year, a year and a half ago. Yeah.
Last year, yeah. And what they did on our visits, I was allowed, or I'm allowed to see him every 2 months for 2 hours. And in summer 2015, I realized that they are using these visits for his programming. On one hand, to show me the further steps they're doing with him. So they showed me openly that he was crucified. I saw the wounds on his feet, his sufferings. And in summer 2015, he had 100% clear signs. I checked this with specialists too, that he has had to suffer sensory deprivation. So they are putting him in the sensory deprivation tank, and afterwards he's allowed to see me. And I decided I'm fighting for him to get custody back, and also at least to see him over the weekends, because this is incredible torture to see your tortured child and you cannot help him.
Right. So basically all this trauma-based mind control, the satanic ritual abuse, those are the terms, the acronyms that we need to know. As SRA is satanic ritual abuse, and the SCA is the systematic chronicle abuse, and the MK Ultra. Some of us are very familiar with the program. It's a mind control program by the CIA, and you can acknowledge and see the symptoms on toddlers and children. What can you tell us about the SRA and the SCA?
There are many terms around for this crime over the last centuries. The term most common now actually is satanic or sadistic ritual abuse. But we found out that it's just one part of the whole thing. The term trauma-based mind control, MK Ultra, is more precise in my opinion, because for centuries they are going on with satanic ritual abuse, and those in powers do not anything against it. So this is governmentally wished, accepted, highly appreciated. And when you look into the trauma-based mind control agenda, you see clearly that the governments on their own are interested in this crime, because they are producing stuff for their own personnel, meaning as politicians, as Secret Service officials, as military staff, even judges are programmed. So they need this trauma-based mind control agenda to have their stuff which they can trust, they can manipulate like marionettes. And a new term I found first in Slaughter's work is systematic chronic abuse. And several scientists are trying to find an umbrella term for all of this crime, inclusive severe chronic trauma.
Right. So they're basically breaking down their ego, they're fragmenting, they're dissociating their personalities, creating multiple personalities, obedient, broken down children that later on will become their agents in the field, in all types of all fields of society, right? Like black spirituality, military and governmental, entertainment industry in Hollywood, academia, and physicians, right?
Yeah.
Right. This is the pic that we're actually looking at.
Yes, and we are always asking who are they. So this chart is depicting who are they.
Mm-hmm.
And Carmen Holiday, a brilliant scientist, she just put it together in one sentence: programmed robots are programming robots.
Right. Yeah. So they're replicating what they're victims of, right? They've been mind control, and they're replicating what they've experienced. It's just like the father who was abused as a child and who's going to abuse his own children, right?
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's terrible. It's all trauma based. It's what trauma is the most, the most reminiscent, or the most, the most, how would I say it? I'm looking for my words here. It's one of the trauma is one of the emotional states, the most remaining in the minds, the consciousness of the people, right?
Yeah.
Throughout lives, the various lives and incarnations, and that's why they've been using trauma to control people, basically. There's mass mind control, but this is like on an individual basis. There are many children around the world that have been triggering some major cases and affairs. Let's see if we can see the pic number 3. The slide 3, where you see a few famous cases, right? The Vogue model, and we see Deborah.
Oh, yes, these are cases that were uncovered, actually, but
right.
Nearly all the children are still in the hands of the perpetrator. So the German cases of Aaron, for example, he's still in the hands of perpetrator. My son is still in the hands of the perpetrator.
Okay.
Kian is still in the hands of perpetrators. So there are dramatical stories behind them. Kian, for example, was taken from his mother exactly after birth. So they were then using him for satanic ritual abuse, as it seems. And the evidence is very clear. And still he is in the hands of a kind of foster family, and his mom is refused actually to see him.
Right. Right. And also, let's see, there's more famous children that have become very famous as adults.
Yes. I mean, I wanted to, because we are always told sexual, or we learned from mainstream media or in school or from wherever, sexual abuse would happen in lower social, how's it called? In lower social classes, they would abuse their children, and this is one of the biggest lies, because all the children who are born in Freemasonic families, military families, even families out of the monarchies, are going through programs like trauma-based mind control programs. So
Right.
I put into pictures where it's quite obvious. Of course, we know Barack Obama. Then we have
the current president, soon to be replaced?
Yes, 1 month, when the president there who's there for 1 month.
Right.
Yeah. And for example, Suri Cruz is a child who is for sure going through these programs. She shows every sign that a child could have depicting on kind of pictures or short videos about her. Next one, no one, the adopted daughter from Sir Bob Geldof. No one was talking about her signs, you know. I mean, it's incredible what happened in this family, but there are rumors that he was killing his ex-wife and her new husband, and then adopting the child. So within a satanic family belonging to the OTO, Ordo Templis Orientis, it's incredible that this child was left in this with this adoption father. Then we know since Machiavelli, Il Principe, we know that the monarchs are programming their children. They are drilled. They should not have any feelings. They should just function as marionettes. So of course also the British line is concerned of that crime. And it's not just a crime that is done in lower social classes that it's claimed, or on drug addicts, or on orphans. Even they should not suffer. But we have to face that it's done in the elite families. We have so many reports about the Rothschild families. The offsprings of them are talking about the torture, the rapes they had to suffer.
Right.
So we have to face the reality that actually those in power, our elite, went through such programs.
Well, you call them elite. I call them psychopaths, but you know, it's psychopathic elite.
To be like that, you know.
Right.
So I don't want to blame the victims, but we have to realize that they are victims too. I don't like what they're doing. I don't like that they're just doing the same with children, but they have suffered because they are adults. They should stop, of course. But they went through these programs, so they are very dependent on the system that is feeding them.
Right.
Because without their families, without their Freemasonic, how's it called, groups, they're nothing. In my opinion, they would find it hard even to find the way to the next bus station on their own, you know.
They're
so dependent.
Right. Let's try to talk about the various steps of programming. You know, how does this programming along? Is this, you know, there's this American artist and survivor Lynn Shermer, who depicted the steps of programming in 9 steps. Can you tell us about it? It starts as a baby in the mother's womb. That's insane. Tell us about it.
Yeah. The torture of the babies already starts in the mother's womb. Why? They need, in general, as a kind of recipe, and they need mothers who are able to dissociate or are dissociated. I use exactly both terms because I have the ability to dissociate, and I always felt it as a gift, you know, not as a burden. So it's maybe both sides, but for me it was a gift. So they still need mothers who are able to dissociate or who are dissociated. Why? In the mother's womb, the baby should learn this ability, because they need it later for the torture, because if a child is not able to dissociate quickly, it just would die. And we know that they're losing over hundreds of children worldwide in thousands, because they are not quickly enough out of their body, so of course they are dying because of the torture. So to start with the training, as it's called, in the mother's womb, meaning torturing the child. And
so it allows them to step out of their body. So it's an out of body, it's a triggered artificially through torture and trauma, out of body experiences, right?
Yeah.
Already
And,
in the
yeah,
womb
yeah,
for the
yeah.
fetus.
And you have to have this ability, otherwise you won't survive the torture as a child. We
Right.
adults would not survive anymore the torture the toddlers and the babies go through. We could not stand it, but they can stand it if they have the ability to dissociate.
Right, right.
So the training of the dissociation training, as it's called, the terms is horrible, but you also have to see it on a scientific level, because otherwise you don't understand their system. Already starts in the mother's womb, and this is done by several means. We know that the mothers are the womb is pushed. They are inserting needles to hurt the baby. Most important is also to traumatize the mother, meaning shouting at her, bossing her around, hurting her feelings. And for example, also the mother should drink bitter fluids. For example, in our own case, my ex-husband told me, well, listen, this is a fine herbal tea. You should drink it because it's healthy for a pregnant woman. And so I drank bitter herbal tea because I thought it would be healthy, and you're very thirsty being pregnant. So I had no idea that actually this was part of the dissociation training of my son in the womb, you know.
Right.
And very often, if a mother is not, would never be willing to torture her child or to have it tortured, they're just drugging the mother and then are beating the baby and so on.
Wow. Right. And they drug the mother as well.
Yes. Also during pregnancy. And
let's see the so after the baby is being I guess dissociated inside the mother's womb, and the mother is also mistreated and traumatized. Between the age of 1.5 and before 3, the toddlers and children are also abused and tortured.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. How does that happen?
It's very important that the mind of the child is already broken, because at age 3, the trauma-based mind control training or programming is starting. So I always say to everyone, just take care of a child until the age of 3. Stay with him or her. Don't give it away. Don't give it to nursery schools or whatever. Just stay with the child until the age of 3, because after that, even horrible things can happen. But trauma-based mind control training will be quite hard. It's nearly impossible to do. So they do several kinds of abuse. They are preferring sexual abuse because this is the best method for them to split the mind of a child, because it's most painful on the soul level, on the mind level, on the body level. So they are doing this because it's the most efficient way to do so, you know. Then of course they are tortured, meaning they have to, for example, my son told me about that he had to eat feces, blood.
Feces.
Yeah, he had to swallow and lap up urine or vomited things. Most important, during they get tortured, there is a group that is laughing on them and they're mocking on them. This is also very important, because the child should lose and has to lose his inner self, his self-confidence. That's very important, to break down the child completely.
Right.
That's why also they love this kind of rituals, that they are doing this. They need one single person would never be able to do it.
Right. Yeah. So he loses his own sovereignty as a human being, basically,
Yeah.
already early on. So he becomes totally obedient and a slave, and yeah, that's totally sick. It's actually it's related to the hazing going on in maybe sports clubs or sporting teams, or in high school, and in some schools where they do some hazing. It's the same type of ceremony, except that it doesn't go so far. Maybe sometimes it does go this far, but
yeah, it's the same mechanism, and it's very painful, especially for the soul.
Right.
Every kind of betrayal, or being mocked in groups, or just being treated so unfairly, no one is helping. It's heartbreaking just to listen. So this makes the children very open for manipulation and further programming, and that's why they love it. That's why they are accepting all these rituals, because within these rituals, this is done there. And this was exactly also described, without having scientific literature about that, in those days, by my son, then 2.5 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So he has split personalities from this. How did this happen concretely? Because his father, who is not his father, right? You're saying he was not his father. He was put in marriage with you in order to watch over the pregnancy and take him every Friday afternoon to go to do rituals on him and so forth.
Every Saturday, yes, yeah.
Okay, every Saturday, right. Is there a specific why was it Saturday? Is there a specific meaning to it, an occult meaning maybe, or no?
No, in those days I still was in maternity leave, and he was working, so it was fair I wanted to have a nice patchwork family. I wished to have a big family with many children.
Right.
Nevertheless, we divorced. In those days, I had no clue what was planned. And then I decided, no, they both should be happy together. He should have his daddy. So I accepted willingly that he can visit him or fetch him every Saturday. So Saturday was the date where it happened. And in this phase, they have so many personnel. It's such an important phase. Even if I would have told him you can have it on Tuesday, they would have done it on Tuesday, because it's so important to get the child, to break him down or her down, to break apart their mind. So Saturday in this case was just because my ex-husband was working.
Right. Yeah, I guess we're getting a weird question in French that doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
There are many French trolls out there, I can tell you. I can attest to that. We're trying to mess with our topic here tonight. So there's been ritual abuse. You think your ex-husband was part of the Secret Service intelligence?
He told me he told me that he would have worked in the Iran for military.
Oh, Iranian.
He told me.
Persian military. That's why he had.
He told me that he's educated on that.
Right.
But he told me that he would now not work anymore for them.
Right.
But it was very clear that he also has the ability, the training, the education for that, because he spoke several languages perfectly, on a perfect level. He was very, very familiar with doing sabotage, and he also went into a Sufi school, he told me. So he was really great at black magic. I just realized it sometimes. So he really showed, and then of course as a psychotherapist and so on. So he really was highly educated,
Yeah, so highly trained, highly educated, and highly initiated to the occult, magic and so forth. So he was probably You said he was part maybe of the Mossad as well?
I saw it's we have here scientific literature that is saying that the whole secret services are working together. It's hard for us to understand, but
Right.
I can confirm this. At least in our case, we have Iran. We have secret service from Iran, from Persia. We have the Mossad involved, we have the CIA, we have Austrian Secret Service, we have British MI5, MI6, and we also have connections to Russia. So you really see that this kind of crime is done internationally, and we know, in terms of trauma-based mind control, that they are working together. They're exchanging information. They are doing research together, because they still want to create this kind of Übermensch, superhuman.
Yeah, superhuman, right? Just like the super soldier thing. Program.
Yes,
Right.
but the Nazi Übermensch.
Übermensch, right?
Übermensch, superhuman. They still want to create it, and based on this, it makes sense that they're all working together.
Right, and it's all derived from the old Nazi programs as well, and what I call the Nazi-Zionists programs, because they all work together, even in the death camps. So, like you told me before, the Jewish were turning in other Jews into the death camps to the Nazis, and they were Zionists already. So they all work together. So there's no duality in this world. All the assholes are working together. You know, all the psychopaths are linked. So there's no duality.
Yes, and it's like in Inquisition times, you know, the good ones are slaughtered, and then the rest gets the power, and the ones who in silence, they are allowed to survive. You know, it's very simple trick used for centuries, and now they really perfected it. And even during the Nazi times, before they killed so many Jews, you know, they got rid of their own population, meaning many Austrians, many Germans were brought into psychiatric hospitals, were brought into concentration camps. They did also research on them, but and even, of course, main target group were the Jews, and got to go on with their human experimentations. But even there, we got to know at the moment that even Jewish physicians from underground were working together with the Nazis doing programming.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And also nowadays, we hear from Israel that the state, the government, is stealing children, doing programming on them. So it's really done in every single culture, in every religion, in every religious group, and we have to stop thinking these are the good ones, these are the bad ones. We have the good and the bad ones as our neighbors, you know?
No, there's just a cast of predators somewhere at the top of the pyramid, and they're programming children who are programming other children, and it goes on forever, except that there are so many new children with psychic abilities and newer abilities that have been activated that they're not going to be able to keep up. So that's my optimistic point of view, you know. So, but in the meantime, this has to stop. So, what were the first signs that made you notice the situation with Luki, and at what age?
With around 2 years, when he was 2 years old, after a few visits, he got ill. Serious ill, high fever, no doctor, no physician could tell me what he has. And it was like as if he was dying, you know. He was, but he was not able to tell me in those days because he regressed with the ability to talk, of course, you know, within this trauma. And then actually, like overnight, after 4 months, he was then 2 years and 2 months old. He pretended to be happy. There really was this personality ready that was smiling all the time, you know. And between that, he had flashbacks and this and this and this. So I got very worried what was happening. And 4 months later, I got to know, well, this, and everything broke out of him piece by piece by piece. And I was so lucky because I studied comparative literature. So I'm specialized on texts and text analysis. And this was very helpful for me because I remembered every single line he was telling me and then bustling together within the chronology. And it was very helpful for me to be able to do that. And even to express what he was telling me, because partly they were weird things he was talking about. He was telling that, or within the flashbacks, he told me that he would have tortured with a toilet brush, you know. So you have the problem of getting told weird things, and on the same time you think, oh my God, that can't be, but you see your tortured child within the flashbacks, and you have no doubt that it's happening, you know.
Right. So, yeah, I know, and so basically. You told us about his connections to various intel agencies. It seems to bother some viewers or listeners about the connection to the Mossad. You know, I don't know. Maybe there are some Mossad agents watching us, or some Zionists out there. I don't care. Well, hello, and it's not a religion. You know, it's just a psychopath ideology, just like Nazism. It's the same thing. And also those programs that you said maybe your family was derived from, maybe your mother was manufactured or conceived in a Nazi programs during the war, right?
Yeah.
Right. Can you tell us about that? Because it seems to be just like the ET experiencers or abductees, like an intergenerational issue. You know, you're picked because of your genetics, and there's something about your genetics, your genes, or maybe something else on the soul level that has a connection that is of interest to them. You know.
Okay. I mean, what I can add to the Mossad theme or Israel. Lucky, my son, to recognize perpetrators. On one hand, out of high-ranked former Nazi families, who were doing this crime hand in hand with high-ranked Jewish families. So they are working together, and we know that that Israel are asking every single Jew worldwide if they want to join Mossad. We know this from the 90s. They were asked, do you want to help informally? And everyone said yes. And I always thought, oh, that's a great idea, so they can protect themselves better. I'm not of that opinion anymore, but it's like it is. And it's nothing against the Jews, because I have heavily programmed friends out of the Jewish communities. So they are also victimizing their own people. It's not against each other. We just have to stand up against this crime altogether. And Exactly. It's not against a special group. And your question with my family...
maybe it has something to do with the blood type as well, or not?
I think it's... I think we don't know enough at the moment, is my opinion.
Right.
It's claimed there would be some interesting blood types. I have O positive, my son too. So this is the type of the long distance runner, you know. They need this kind of soldiers for long-term jobs. This we know, it's said, you know. That blood type A, I think, is for short, intensive, powerful operations, you know, where you put out all the energy in 5 minutes and then you're having a break. But I think they know much more what's within our blood, within our DNA, and I believe that the criteria we don't know now. Okay,
right. And you told me your mother was sort of like totally, how would I put it, emotionless. You know, when you asked her about your son, she didn't, you know, it looked like she had no emotion towards you, or she wasn't sympathetic, or she was laughing when you questioned her about Luki.
Well, I mean, I'm convinced that she herself is programmed.
Mm-hmm.
She has a typical programming for a female perpetrator. They are kind of narcissist, sadistic type.
Right.
And they need this kind of woman to raise children, because the mother has to handle the child. And as a mother, you have to be very cruel to the child. If the child is crying, and you should not comfort it, or you just have to leave the child alone. So you have heartbreaking situations all over every single day. So you need this type of programmed mother. And especially on my mother, I did not realize how insane she is, actually. I just knew, well, she's weird. But I had no idea that Lucky told me that she's involved. I nearly could not believe it, but of course I believed it then. And she seems to be directly programmed from the Nazi doctors herself, like many in Austria. The Austria is very unknown in this on this topic, but you must not forget that the academy, the SS Academy for Physicians doing human experimentation, was in Styria in Graz. So,
in Graz. Okay, with Mengele. Mengele was there too, or
Mengele was there. Aribert Heim went to school there. He's Dr. Death. He's the second famous physician involved after Mengele. There are books about him. He did enormous research in Mauthausen, in the concentration camp of Mauthausen. So we here have deep third or fourth Reich programmers. And also American whistleblowers, for example, Kay Griggs, in an interview in '98 with Rick Strawcutter, said that the psychologists and psychiatrists here out of Vienna are teaching how to program.
Right. Actually, in slides, the next slide that we're looking at, we can see how biofeedback training blocks access to certain parts of the brain, alters teams, and this is how it works, to deliver shocks, like electroshocks, of various intensities. So it actually creates alters in your brains, and this is what Mengele was working on, right?
Yes.
In the death camps.
Yes.
And all the mind control Nazi programs we're working on.
Yes.
So.
And they also studied the connection to the soul. Here are always the Satanists are coming into the game, because they need also this betrayal of the soul, to stop the soul from development, to try to split the soul, and the combination is very important. So these are the connections from satanic ritual abuse to trauma-based mind control, meaning governmental human experimentation, actually, yeah.
Right. And also, the kind of report we're getting symptoms, they are also being raped from adults, by adults, as well as from animals. Yeah. And this is terrible. This is like bestiality or something,
Yeah. I did research on that topic because my son Lucky, before he loved dogs, and after that he got panic from them, just seeing a dog. And I interviewed some survivors about that topic who have lots of memories, and they were so kind to tell me that it's done quite often, because it's so hurting. It's so hurting the soul. You're so humiliated. It's because a kind of different being, meaning a dog has its fur, and you feel it on your skin, and it hurts so much, and the others are laughing, not helping. And of course, you must not forget just imagine then the child lives in a family who has dogs. The child will be triggered just seeing the dogs. The child will always function because of the dogs, because of the fear, and they love such triggers. So that the German Schäferhund, I mean, it's bestial, but it's bestial, brilliant intelligence, no?
Right. And also, what they do to dissociate the children and toddlers from their physical container and bodies, and they lock them in basements, cages, coffins, boxes, water tanks, etc. And in the dark for a long period of time. We've had an affair like this, a few affairs that came out, actually. Wasn't that in Austria that it came out? I think, right? A young lady who was locked in the basement for years, I think.
Yes, right? This is Natasha Kampusch, and she's a classical cover-up. She's a classical trauma-based mind control case. Right. Because authorities claim that it would be a single perpetrator who would have kept her in this basement for, I think, years. And the second case we have here in Austria is the case of Fritzl, who kept his daughter also in a kind of basement, and he had 7 children with her. So a whole village would not have realized what this guy was doing. So these are really cover-ups, and the Fritzl case is 100% a satanic ritual abuse case, because they love to impregnate women. So they have to give birth, and they also love to play with genetics. They love to play with who the father is. Also, there are rumors about that Natasha Kampusch has given birth to a child, which is now adopted and lives somewhere else. And so there are so many politicians or those in power who love to create unofficial dynasties, you know? Right. Yeah, we're going to talk about those rings and those circles and of power and the perpetrators in a few minutes. We're going to just finish with the symptoms on the toddlers and children. In the slide 10, you mentioned on your website that some of the symptoms is having seen devils and ETs, etc. You mean as an experiencer, as an abductee, or have they been encountering those creatures or beings, or was it some type of holograms or holographic projection in front of them? I mean, many children report of having seen devils, you know, or even ETs. Right. I know both stories. Luki hasn't told me about it, but I know it from other cases. Okay. And the problem we have now is that they can do with that 3D, 4D, 7D animation so perfect pictures. So the new generation can be so heavily manipulated by this kind of technique, because what will they tell us? Whom they have met, because they think it's real. And there are even experiments, as you know, Mark, I have the information from you actually, that they can now, that you even can touch the hologram. Yes, yes, they can touch it, yeah. Right. So the new generation will have a hard time to really find out the truth, because the pictures, the scenes they have seen can be manipulated. Yes, but they can also materialize, because I've seen hypnotic regressions where people, you know, talk about real meetings with demons and extraterrestrials and so forth, and they materialize, and sometimes they leave physical traces, you know, behind. So and before, I mean, for the past 20 years, there's been holograms, but prior to that, for the few hundred thousands of years that this has been going on, trauma-based mind control on children, since antiquity, since the Sumerians, since ancient Egypt, and we'll talk about the ancient language that you heard from your child yourself when he was a kid, when he was a toddler.
and there was officially no hologram, even though we may be living in a total illusion, a holographic illusion ourselves. But in what the material world that we're connected with and that we're dealing with is concerned, there seems to be also material, physical encounters, not only holograms or hallucinations or synthetic telepathy. Talking about ancient languages, what can you tell us about the ancient language you heard Luki speak? And how old was he?
He was 4 to 5 months in those days. He was not talking in German in those days.
Right.
But all of a sudden he started to talk to me in smiling at me. He had the energy of young man in his 20s then, and talked for 3 minutes, and I was like, wow, what's going on here? And I nearly never told someone about it before, but 1 year ago I found, doing research, I found material that they did these experimentations, meaning the group, the predecessors of the Thule group or the Frill group. They did Madame Blavatsky and all those, Hartmann and especially here in Vienna. And they did experiments with babies, with newborn babies and smallest toddlers. And they also reported that the children or the babies would start to talk in different languages. So it's scientifically proved. And before I did not dare to talk about, because, tell your general practitioner around the corner that your son would have talked to you as a baby, as a 4-month baby with his suitor in his mouth in an ancient language. They declare you as you take away the child immediately. Yeah.
Right. And you mentioned that you saw him with black eyes.
This was after the traumatization, meaning after being 4 months old, I don't know why, but he started to talk into another language with me. Right. And I found also scientific literature from 150 years ago about that. And right. After traumatization, with 2.5 years old, he had one personality that had this completely black eyes without any white inside. It was like in a horror movie. And I accept everyone who does not believe it, because I would not believe it if I wouldn't have seen it.
Right. I understand. And you said that he was telling you those words, mommy evil, right?
Yeah. He was like a mantra. It was like a mantra, these black eyes, mommy evil, mommy's evil, mommy's evil. And then he was falling asleep, and I was standing there and thinking, oh my God. And I have never watched Rosemary's Baby before, because I could never stand to watch such kind of horror movies. But right. Afterwards, after they took him away, I had to see it, and the energy was very similar to that movie. And right. Also Roman Polanski knew more, because he would face jail, I think, in America. Right. So he's hiding somewhere because of pedophilia. He knew exactly what he was talking about in this film,
Yeah, for sure. You think he was a perpetrator as well?
Just look at the pictures.
Yeah, well.
With the children, you have no doubt. And if you not look just at the pictures, just on the energy around him, the vibration that comes out of this thing.
Right. Right. We're gonna finalize what the symptoms are about and what those children are experiencing, and then we're going to talk about the rings and those international rings. Basically, they're being administered drugs or alcohol via injections or suppository or drinks, or they're being sedated with a mask, and also they're being injured with dazzling lights and shrill noises. What do you mean by dazzling lights?
Dazzling lights are lights that are just blinding your eyes.
Right, like stroboscopic lights.
It's just to flash the eyes, to confuse everything. This we know. The same with sounds that hurts in the eyes.
Because I know two Austrian physicians and researchers who were NDE experts. I forgot their names, but they came up with stroboscopic lights, which later on they called the Lucia lights, whom a French reptilian ufologist here in France is selling all around France to trigger out-of-body experiences. So that's why I'm mentioning that, the stroboscopic lights, and they were researched by Austrian physicians. So
Austrians, that's cynical, but Austrians are brilliant researchers. But the problem is that their research is often based on bestial human experimentation.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And what kind of noises, shrill noises, what do you mean by that?
Shrill noises, I'm meaning hurting noises. It's, you can hurt the ears with noises, no? Right.
And this is all intended to dissociate.
Or they are putting into the ears come noises with different frequencies. They're even working on programming with the frequencies.
Right.
Maybe you're tortured and someone is trying to put the whole situation into a frequency that is can acoustically be repeated. So whenever you listen to this frequency, you're triggered, you're shocked, your unconsciousness is in that situation, even if you have no memories.
Right. So it's all about trauma and shock. You worked on a statistics, or you came up with the statistics out of like 100 children that have been programmed. What happens next? You've worked on that.
I mean, Tammy Stefano, she's an American psychologist doing a lot of work for children, for uncovering everything also. And she said that one perpetrator will rape, one pedophile will rape around 100 to 130 children in his whole lifetime, in average.
Wow.
So okay. I took this number and said, okay, one perpetrator is raping 100 children. And then I said, okay, and I say 10% of these children will become perpetrators on their own.
Right.
Then I did some kind of statistic forecast, and I found out, I checked the numbers 10 times because I couldn't believe it on myself. But after 5 generations, this one perpetrator caused 1 million perpetrators.
Oh, you mean it would generate,
yeah.
Right.
Because it's on, there's a certain point where the whole crime is raising exponentially. And you can change the numbers as you wish, but you have the same effect. It's raising exponentially, and that's the situation we are in now.
Right.
Everywhere the children rings, pedophilia as it's called, open trauma-based mind controlling governments. We are in this exponential curve now, where you really can see it's done,
Right.
Such a huge extent that you just can say, wow, what's going on here?
Yes, and you mentioned the perpetrators. You had to you put together a list. It's on your website of the perpetrators that Luki acknowledged, recognized, pointed out on the list. What functions do they occupy? What do they hold in society in general? Okay,
well, they're out of the branch of physicians. They're psychologists. Right. Lots of them are psychotherapists.
Wow. Okay.
And then, of course, the usual family members, because you always need the family involved in such crimes. And this is mainly the list. But why I put it on the website to make it to show it openly, I was hoping that they would go to the prosecution office and say, listen, I'm on this list, I'm on this website. I have nothing to do with this crime. I want that you investigate now. But no one went to the prosecution officer. So it's highly interesting. So they don't mind, or they're so involved in this crime that they don't dare to go there.
They don't make any noises, and they, they don't want to go against your list because they.
No, I would go to I would say, dear prosecution office, you investigate now because I don't want to be on this list, and no one is doing that. And this is for me, well, it's self-explaining, no?
Yeah. Well, no kidding. So they're mainly living in Austria, but they have connections. You told me to CIA, to Russia, to Secret Service, to the Intel in Belgium. There are some diplomats involved, powerful politicians. Who else? You mentioned, well, the perpetrators in Austria are obviously connected to the old Nazi families, and some of them are high-ranked Freemasons. You said you mentioned.
Yeah.
One is the chief of the Freemasons in Munich, right? Connected to the CIA.
No, the chief in Munich, I don't know. It's just the Großlogenmeister, master of the Grand Lodge in Munich. His nephew was involved. He was recognized with his wife. This I know. The former Nazis have the contacts to CIA mainly, and they're also are having contacts with Russia. It's very interesting. So you can really see the whole network.
Yeah, well, since Operation Paperclip, they all work together. The Fourth Reich is in the U.S. So
then you have connections to very important politicians, very powerful ones. For example, the son of the federal president's best friend, the son was recognized by my son as a perpetrator.
Oh, you mean Sarkozy? Let's name him.
No, it's here. It's Fischer.
Oh, in the U.S. In
also,
but
they are by mentioning Sarkozy. They are all connected via the Grand Lodge in France, via the Chevaliers and the French Legion.
Okay, not the Grand Orient, but the other one. Okay, well, yeah, they're all connected, and you mentioned something about the former president's son, right? In France.
Yes, and part of the group also seem to have connections to the president's son. So it's like a party of the elite. The programmed children of the elite are enjoying the programmed children or torturing children on their own. So they're just repeating what they have suffered on their own. Right.
But still, Nazi programming rituals, you mentioned, the perpetrators were also the victims, like you said, of their own. And the government authorities on one side and on the other side, some of the programming didn't succeed. So some of them are not well programmed, and they can get out of the program and they start talking, right? Right?
They could talk, of course, yeah. But they don't want to, actually.
Okay, so it's just a mafia, blackmail, pressure, they're being threatened as usual. But there's so much money involved, you said, and so much intel and secret intelligence. Yeah.
And you must not forget that even my son with 2.5 years told me that they filmed everything. Everywhere where cameras, pictures taking, films were made. So if you torture a child, you get filmed. So you're forever in the hands of a kind of secret service, a secret government, shadow government, secret service, whoever is in possession of this film.
Right.
So they don't dare to speak, and this is a kind of strategic entanglement the secret services worldwide are doing, and the German secret service is specialized on that. The Nazis started with that on a grand scale.
Right. Why do you think they need the children? You told me that they get them dissociated from age 0 to 3 years old because they're so connected to maybe source, or and they do experiments on babies, channeling with babies, and I mentioned to you that they've done teleportation testings with children as well. And Andy Basiago talked about it.
The Montauk boys, yeah.
The Montauk project, and yeah. So that this is why, basically, right? Because the soul and the body of the child can be dissociated easily, and you control it from early on. It's just like Carl Jung and Freud, used to say, right? You control the childhood, and you control the whole being for life, basically. Yeah. Right.
I mean, after the age of 3, it's nearly impossible to split the personality of a child in this way. You can injure the child, you can torture the child, you can hurt the child, of course, but they need the broken mind of the child before the age of 3, because afterwards it's not breaking the way they want. They cannot use or heavily use these broken parts. They need exact parts, they need big parts, and they want to program into one person at least 5 to 6 personalities, even much more, but at least 5 active personalities.
Right.
And that's the reason.
Yeah, and they also look for children with special abilities, you told me, right?
Yeah.
Like Luki, at 1.5-year-old, he knew his ABC, right? He was able to read his first words and recognize the letters, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, this comes also from Aleister Crowley. He said intelligent boys, blonde, fostered, meaning beloved. These boys would give the most energy. So this comes also from this satanic corner,
Right. Yeah, it's also, yeah.
And what I found out, very important, it was very hard to understand from my son. He always told me he had to promise something. And I was wondering what he had to promise and what would be the trouble on that, Because, and time after time after time, he told me, and I found it in the scientific literature. That's very important. That's the most important piece of it. He had to overtake the burdens of the perpetrator, meaning their karmic guilt was handed over to him.
The karmic.
Yes. And I saw him, I saw parts of the perpetrators, and they were all of a sudden released, happy, relaxed, before they were like, And my son it was so heavy on his shoulders or in his soul. And also in scientific literature it's mentioned that they are handing over all these burdens. They're doing a lot of contracts with the children. Mm-hmm. You will allow me to go into your system and fetch out energy, or you hand over energy or whatever. And I think this is also the main motivation for many of them taking part in such rituals.
Right.
And it's also discussed in a Hollywood movie.
Right.
The compendium of it's about Dr. Parnassus. I will look it up later, because they also mention this kind of energetic transfer quite openly.
So let's go back to their motivations and what their goals and objectives are. They're looking for. You told me they were looking for children with special abilities. Okay, the group behind him knew perfectly who he was, right? So they're looking for some type of, you said, Christ figure. They're searching for children that could have these abilities potentially.
Yeah.
And they always take the bright children. Some families are happy to deliver their children to the foster programs in Austria, for example. You told me, right? Mm-hmm. So you saw him in 2015 at a foster home, or was it a child protection service, a place, a building, where they used also in a movie, a documentary about abused children, right?
Yeah,
right?
And it looks nearly the same. I was so shocked when I was seeing the rooms,
right?
Because it looked like the scene out of the child abuse, child trafficking movie. Mm-hmm. That was on television in the German-speaking countries, And the whole of this child protection center looks just the same. That's very obvious because they need this kind of sexual torture, sexual abuse to get to keep on going the child dissociated for the programming that they are just selling the child or children there, you know. And I have no proof for that, but the similarities are very shocking, no?
Right.
And why does the Child Protection Center need such a huge hall with a piano and all that stuff? I mean, where comes the money from? Why do they have so much money? And so on.
Right. Also, yeah, child trafficking is heavily, it's pretty intense all around the world anyway. From Africa to Europe to Asia to Americas. So you said they were looking for mothers who are able to dissociate, right? Or able to dissociate, and also are gifted or talented. And so this kind of mothers or women are really targeted. And they're learning, the babies are learning the abilities from the traumatized mother during pregnancy, right? Like you said. So the baby learns it automatically when they stick the needle, like you described earlier, to keep them already dissociating. They always try to construct a scenario, when you talk in public or you take it to court, or you talk to lawyers or psychiatrists about your case. They always try to say that the mother has been traumatized, so she's making up everything, and she's crazy, right?
Yes, but this is the problem. I mean, they are trying to do in most of the cases. They are hunting the mothers. They are depriving them. They are trying to make them homeless, unemployed, whatever. And after a while, when the mother is breaking down, then they come and say, look, we have told you from the beginning, she's crazy. So this is a really cynical, bestial game, and you have to be very strong not to play it. And point is, actually, the mother is traumatized during pregnancy. So she's shouted, she's insulted, and. So the trauma should start then, or at least a kind of re-traumatization. But it's always their aim, because psychologists are involved in programming. Of course, they just claim the mother would be insane. We know about cases that mothers, pregnant mothers, woke up in a kind of hospital, told they would have made a cesarean now, and the child would be away for adoption because they would be mentally insane. Can you imagine? You wake up in a state hospital and you have no idea about a kind of insanity. You have no idea what happened. You just know you're not pregnant anymore because your baby is away. And authorities claim you would be insane. I mean, so you must be so strong not to get crazy with this pain, You need so enormous power to stay on the ground, to fight for your baby, to do not give up, not to start to get really insane or crazy. Then they love to do gaslighting, group stalking, mobbing, human hunts. They are breaking into a flat. They are dragging you. They are destroying something on your car, and so on. So you have to be really strong to keep your nerves and not to get crazy, because this is exactly the bus they want you to have in.
Yeah, no.
Then they say we were right. She can raise her child.
Right. Yeah, I know. You're so traumatized. You're in no condition to even. Stay operational and raise a child. You're right. And
still want to have. So you have to really calm down and stay centered, or even ever always try to get back, have a rest, then fight again. Because of course they want to present you as a kind of insane lunatic, of course.
Yeah, we'll talk about we'll talk about some healing workshops if we have time in a few minutes that you're working on for 2017, because it's interesting and crucial. And you were mentioning something about Germany. There's over 50,000 government child abductions per year, and it's official, right? Toddlers, babies. You think they're building up armies, and the child protection services are coming to take away the children from parents, that, you know, to tell you're a bad parent. They're taking away newly born babies from hospitals and nurseries, like you said. They take babies through cesarean, no chance to get back their children. And there are mothers that have been testifying. That is one mother, you told me, was in prison, has been in prison for 13 years because she protected her daughter, right? Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. This is standard. When you're in the situation, this is standard to get to know about such cases. And we have the situation worldwide in every single Western country. In every single country it's done, you know. And we see that they need youth welfare department staff, they need child protection department staff. They are building one foster home after the next. There is money, enormously money going to them. And to have to get this money, greed is, we know what greed can lead to. There are really human beings are willing to do this on other human beings, meaning on children. And parts of the children then go directly do human experimentation, satanic ritual abuse. Some are lost, some are transferred to foreign countries, and they don't mind. They don't mind, even if they don't mind. For them, it's just a business, and they don't mind to do this on children. Then we have this pharmaceutical experiments too on them, and everyone is getting so much money, and they can't resist, or are too silly, I have no idea, or too cruel or whatever, but they are just following this agenda. And we have these figures from Norway down to Italy, so it's done in every single country. The problem is that as a parent, even daddies are concerned. As a parent, you're so broken, you're so shocked, you must have the ability to talk, you must have the ability to write. Without this ability, you must be very strong to do that. So without this ability, no one will listen to you. And many say, no, I will lose this game, so I give up the child. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So you said there were some hunts, child hunts and man hunts going on?
Yeah.
Listeners are not, they think it's science fiction, you know, like those.
No, unfortunately not, no. My son showed me, my son had severe symptoms that he also had to take place on a hunt.
Okay.
He was hunted with cars. He got crazy when our car was starting close to him, and then he was trying to run away. It was like all of a sudden, you know, out of the blue. It took time to realize what was going on, what triggered him, and why he was just running like a deer hunt. And we have the stories from the royalty. There are so many witnesses that are saying, I had to take part on such a hunt.
Right.
And we have detailed description, detailed witness confessions. And and from Africa, we know that they love to do so. And partly, I told you, Mark, when thinking on Africa, I always get so shocked because actually I think I don't want to know what they did on them, because it must excel everything we have heard before.
Yeah, I know they're duplicating what they experienced. You told me the demons were an important topic. They're really working with them, they're learning it, you know, from the Bible. But that's why we talked. We mentioned the religions and the Vatican being really a part of this whole pedophile ring, you know, the priests' entanglement with, they remain silent and say nothing. They're entangled in the ring. They were abused themselves, and then they abused children, right?
Yeah. most of them are programmed to become perpetrators. You must not forget they are drilled to become perpetrators. Even young girls are programmed. You will bring us every single child, your children, your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren. So we so often have this crime within families. And the problem is that most of them are, of course, getting perpetrators, can't find healing, can't find resilience, and of course they're doing what they are programmed for. And those in power don't see that they're programmed, because for them everything is fine. They have power, they have money, they have good jobs, they have high reputation. So it's hard for them to understand that they went through as children themselves.
Right. A listener is asking, he said he was a watcher. He targeted and marked children, during his, I guess his flights, his abductions, his out-of-body experiences. And what did all this, what was it meant for? I mean, what did it serve? What purpose did it serve?
I didn't catch it. What did he was a watcher?
There's a listener. He says he was a watcher. I mean, I guess maybe he was
observer.
He targeted some children and selected them, marked them, and during his missions, I guess, his out-of-body missions.
I mean, what I realized with my own son, but it's also found in scientific literature. We know that the children that are telling something, that are talking about these crimes, doesn't matter the age. Then they are brought back to the cults or to governmental programming. These children are punished severely to educate the others. So if I got this right with the watcher, it can be that he had to watch what was done to other children, so he would be silent for the rest of his life.
Right. So he was abused himself then, right? Maybe, potentially.
Of course. And they are often working with cover-up memories. So you have a memory that's very disgusting, very hard to stand, very painful. Right. But you have to look behind, because in most cases there are even more important stories and more cruel stories than you can imagine. And right. Then you can find out the purpose. And as soon as you have the purpose, it's a kind of way to heal, because truth is always healing. You're through these programs, it's not happening anymore. So as soon as you know the truth, there is an enormous healing process starting. And I found out, even with my son being 2.5 years, every story he was able to tell me, every story I was able to understand, the healing went on so quickly. It was amazing even for me how fast it went, step by step by step.
Right. And your own case, you have no memory from when you were born till you were 10 years old, right?
Yeah,
right?
I have a huge memory trouble. I can recollect everything from age 15, but my early childhood, I have nearly no memories.
Wow. Okay. And you're trying to regress hypnotically and finding out more about it, right? And okay. I
start now to do this kind of research. Before I didn't want to look into my thing, because I wouldn't want to mix up my story or my potential story with the story of my son or the other children. But now it's time for me to go into healing work on several ways. Yeah.
But like you said, family members are part of this crime ring. Your family, you said, is part of this crime ring. Your mother is 400% part of this, you're saying. So it seems to, she seems to have been coming out of a Nazi facility. She was a genetic breeder, like you said in German, Lebensborn, out of one of those children born in 1948. Mm-hmm. Didn't stop after she was born, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it did not stop, of course. Everyone thinks because they closed officially the concentration camps that all projects were stopped. No, they did not stop. Main programmer besides Josef Mengele, Aribert Heim, was living in Germany, close to Karlsruhe, meaning in Baden-Baden. And they were just going on with their work and with their breeding facility, with their genetic research and so on.
Right. Tell us the case of this lady in Strasbourg that is from Estonia, who's also an abused person, an abused child that now is defending the perpetrators, right?
Yes, it's very interesting. After you go a long way at courts in your own country, meaning in Austria, in France, in Italy, in Norway, from wherever, then you don't have many possibilities left. So at the end of the day, you are at the human rights court in Strasbourg, of course. Strasbourg, France.
We're gonna name her, right? Julia Lafranc.
Yes, and
she's from Estonia, and she's at the court of Strasbourg, and her father worked partially for the Russian Secret Service.
Yeah, and so I wrote them, and I got the letter. No, everything was done well. The Austrian Republic decided brilliantly right, and then I was doing research about her, and then I found out that her father was working for Russian Secret Service as a psychiatrist. I looked pictures of her. She's 100% trauma-based mind control programmed, and she got the title of being a Chevalier of the French Legion with the age of 30. So that's not possible because the rules of the Legion say you have to serve for, I think, 15 or 20 years. Then you can get this title. No, out of Freemasonic families, you get them as soon as possible because they needed her in Strasbourg.
I didn't get it either, but I'm much older. But they give it to anybody over here.
Yeah, no, but it's on one hand it's very, funny, but on the other hand it's of course traumatic on all sides because she refused to look at the torture case of my son, and also she went through a trauma-based mind control program, Dr. Julia Lafranc. And also, there were children online. There were pictures online of her own children in the age of toddlers. You could see easily that these children also are going through a program. So you have the whole drama that this program judges are programming their own children, refusing to investigating, and this is, in some, if you go to a distance, you just can say that's a brilliant bestial system, no?
Right. Yeah, it's the Ouroboros, the infinity sign. You go around in circles.
It's really a perpetuum mobile of evil, I call it.
Right. That's what it is. Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So she dismissed your case, the Cette case.
And I wrote to the president of the Strasbourg court, to Dean Spielman. I've never received an answer of him, but shortly afterwards I had to fly from Austria because they wanted to kill me via radiation and poison. So maybe this was the response. I don't know.
Right. So you're lucky to be alive. How come you think they keep you alive and well?
At the moment, yes. It's yeah. Let's see what will follow next. What we know from several cases worldwide, you nearly never get out your own children.
Right.
I would prefer to kill them before.
Oh, really?
So I hope and pray that my son comes back to me. But I don't know if it will happen before he's 18 years old or so. I don't know.
He's going to be 8 years old, right?
Now he will be. Yes, in February he will become 8 years old. Yeah.
Okay. You said Luki had to take oath, swear a lot. He was telling you his horrific stories one after the next, and the battle was in his soul contract, and that's where the solution may be, and they were trying to put pressure on his soul. They're doing that quite often, right? This karmic transfer is so important to them. That's the key. Tell us about Sandra Fecht and the contract removal and the karmic revocation, the contract revocation workshop that you think may be a solution. You know?
Well,
raise awareness is the first thing, you know.
Even being targeted, I had to do a lot of kind of healing work on my own, meaning to be functionable, to stay functionable, to be able to do research, to be able to write down, because you saw the website, there are many pages, at least in German, and do research under radiation, do research when being hunted or targeted, writing to court. So I did a lot of healing work, actually. And first I found out that these contract revocations are very, very powerful tools, especially my son told me, or I saw it on him, I did them on him. I also published a picture of him after I had done for a whole night this kind of revocations. And it was releasing his soul, he was peacefully inside him, you know. So I went on from time to time doing these revocations. Now the whole many are dealing with revocations, and they are recommending that you should do them at least for 1 month, even longer, every single day.
This exercise on your website, or maybe you can give us the link to the clearing all enslaving mind process writings that you give me. You know, it's 4 pages.
Yeah.
So,
I love the ones from Veronica Keane. It's on the Montagu Keane website, but I will also publish them tonight on trauma-based mind control in English and in German, because I think they're most powerful. But every revocation is a good thing. Andrew Bartis has great revocations, and you feel them immediately. You feel them immediately. If they're working, you feel it like this, you know. And you should do them every single day. This is most important, because many say just do it once and everything is fine. No, they are playing with timelines. They are playing with the automatic renewal of this contract. We still have not found out how they're doing it. So we just now do them every day. This is a great remedy, actually. And the second thing is what I just you can do on your own, because I'm preferring things you can do on your own. Because when you're targeted, when you have to leave the country, you're just with yourself, so you should be able to help yourself, you know. I found it very helpful to work with crystals or healing stones, because they also you just can carry with you.
So you're trying to put together workshops in
then doing meditation. Meditation, going into your heart, is very, very helpful. And what I was so happy to meet Sandra Fecht this summer in Switzerland, actually. And she, as a psychologist, now as a counselor, she worked for decades with experience of satanic ritual abuse, and she developed very, very helpful methods in kind of healing, and her way is doing it via regressions. So also she prefers that you get the truth, and when you have the truth, the rest of healing goes like that, you know.
Right. So basically, finding the truth is a liberating technique.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Finding out the truth, because this is liberating, is setting yourself free, and balance yourself. Yeah. Get back your memories for healing, and once you discern the system, you know what you could have done, etc. Because the thing is, you said they're sort of stupid, because they've been always repeating themselves throughout the ages, you know.
Yeah.
Our big advantage
is our advantage, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
We're being more creative, but we're still in the loop. this mind control trauma based karma thing, and they're not very creative. So from the Middle Ages to torture, from the Middle Ages to ancient times, it's always been the same techniques for torturing and trauma, mind control, traumatize people. So raising awareness, get people to know about child abuse or satanic ritual abuse or mind control programs makes a big difference, basically. So if there's a checklist, you told me that you can find out if you are concerned or if your child is concerned or if you're in danger or et cetera, if you're an experiencer of those things.
I mean, that's my special field. I did enormous research about the modus operandi of the crime. So you can find out is somebody maybe involved or for 100% involved. Is the child within a program? Is the child used for SRA or for something different? Is the child traumatized? This is my special topic, and because make complex research or complex thoughts easy, I put them into kind of checklists. To have something in your hand easily and very quickly, to just have a checklist, yes or no, because otherwise you can't work, because it takes you, I think, half a year, 2 years until you see the whole modus operandi. So I love to work with this kind of informational checklist.
Right. And Fritz Springmeier does some excellent work as well, right? Yeah. And also Ellen Lecter, you told me, she's a U.S. American psychologist, and she has a site called endritualabuse.org, right?
Yes.
And support groups can be helpful. Do you have any support groups in Austria?
I had some support groups, but they were messed up by some Secret Service stuff or satanic groups. So I decided to join Misha's group, Misha Johnston's American-based support groups, and I'm translating there for the German-speaking ones. Because
Misha, I interviewed her once.
Yes.
So she's in Las Vegas, Misha Johnston.
Yes. And I'm translating twice a week. There's the official group on Thursday, but also on Sunday nights. And I'm translating there because if I would do the support groups, I just would spend my whole energy on them, And I need to do some research and some general awareness raising things here in the German-speaking countries, because in the German-speaking country, no one is talking about, or nearly no one. So I decided to be Misha's assistant in translation.
Right. And in your case, after you saw your son last time, well, you told me you're communicating telepathically with him from time to time, right? Since you haven't seen him since August 2015. After the last time you saw him, you took it to court. You took your case to court again, right?
Yes.
Okay. And what happened then?
They just write me that there would be no initial suspicion.
Right.
In your case, Mrs. Sadek, there is no initial suspicion. I get it in written. So we don't do anything. Best regards, your prosecution officer. And the telepathical thing, I just started for actually a few months or weeks. Before I needed help, but now I'm able to do it on my own. But of course, I would prefer to have him with me and ask him directly,
Yeah, you told me that in your SEDEC file case, you had like about 10,000 pictures. And they like to sabotage you a lot. The Secret Service thing, the intel thing, they like anything, like your car, your printer, your heating is breaking down. And when you don't have much money, it's very hard to buy ink, for example, for the printer. And if you have
had times, where I had nothing to eat,
Yeah, there you go. And if you have to print out 400 pages, for example, to get the court to look at your file, and in Europe, you have no chance to find a job these days. And this summer, you said you sent about 300 job applications from Switzerland to Austria and all the German-speaking countries with no result. And basically, it's just like in the U.S., if you're on the blacklist, you can't find a job either. Same thing in France, actually. And what happened to your? You said you put your file, your computer in a safe in a bank, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a, somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. And after they took Lucky away,
right.
I just put the laptop and how's it called, an audio device
Mm-hmm.
that recorded enormously important meetings. I
Right.
put into a bank safe, and after 3 or 4 days, I got nervous because I was thinking, Andrea, you're silly. If they're really from the Secret Services,
Mm-hmm.
they have access to it. So I ran into the bank and found my laptop completely deleted, and the audio tape. That's very interesting. Partly they deleted it, and partly they changed it. And for the changes, I have witnesses.
Wow.
So, but the prosecution office, the corruption office, the highest courts in Austria, until now they are not interested because there would be no initial suspicion concerning the Cette case. So they just want to keep on going uncovering it.
Right. Yeah. So that's nuts. Nuts.
So when you have data, my recommendation, I mean, I was maybe also a bit clumsy, you know, but I was more a mother in those days. I was not so fit in computers. I just had to relearn it again because you have other topics with children, you know. But best thing is just to duplicate everything, bring it to thousands of friends, or even not much better, publish everything, because it's hard for them. As soon as you have published this, it's much more hard for them to manipulate it.
What can you tell us about the current state of Luki right now? He's in custody of officially the Child Protection Services, the government Child Protection Services, but in fact he's never there. He's in the hands of his perpetrators, right?
I don't know. I'm not allowed to know.
Oh, you're not allowed
I'm
to?
not allowed to know. I'm not allowed to look in the files of the Cette case. I'm not allowed to see my son without supervision. And the supervision is there. I also told you, Mark, to destroy every beginning talking to him, just as a mother and son, not about this horrible topic. But they are just destroying. They are stopping you. They are shouting at the child. When the child has a flashback or even a kind of personality switch, they're looking the other way. They are just there to trigger the child. One of the supervisors of Luki, I'm convinced that she is a trauma-based mind control trainer. So they sent this trainer to the visits with me. So as soon as Luki is starting to tell something, she's immediately there to trigger him. So you always are surrounded with the Secret Service stuff. And I also asked authorities officially, how is my son? How is he in school? How is he physically, psychically, mentally, from soul state? What is he doing? What is he loving? No answer, nothing. But they're asking me to pay him alimony.
Wow. That's total. That's 200% torture there.
And 2 years ago, excuse me, that's maybe also important for the audience. Until 2 years ago, meaning until December 2014, my child was taken in early 2012. I was working as officially, governmentally allowed as a social counselor, helping unemployed to find a job in some kind of governmental programs. So until 2014, I was allowed to work as a social counselor. It was no problem, but I was too insane to be the mother of my son in the eyes of the government.
I know it's almost like they're teasing your case, but your ultimate goal would be to make an unprecedented case, legally speaking, right?
Yeah.
So that you can build up a database of perpetrators, like we have the pedophile database around the world. Like in the neighborhood, you can access the already convicted pedophiles and so forth. But this is This is like, this is your goal, right? And so
Yeah.
they can be recognized by the victims and also the people in general, right?
Yeah.
Because the programmers group is not that big, you said. They work in
No.
all countries: Germany,
Yes.
Austria, the UK, the US,
Yes.
France, Israel,
Yes.
and so forth, right?
Yes, and the perpetrators of Lucky told me they would have tortured him, and the same guys. This is really interesting. A 2.5-year Austrian child is recognizing them, telling me. And then our 30-year German woman told me, yes, I also recognize partly them. And then I think 40 or 50-year-old American was confirming, yes, me too. So you see that the trauma-based mind control programmers, torturers are really working on an international level. And at least between neighboring countries. That's why there are also so close connections to Belgium and France within the Dutroux case, or even to Germany, to Austria. They are all connected.
Right. So all those, but what about their ethics? I mean, is any of them like sane-minded? At all? Are they all child abused perpetrators, or are they all under mind control, or is there any agent out there that is ethical enough or sane enough to work for the good side, the mothers who lost their child?
I mean, I have the impression that the good ones are dismissed or killed easily.
Right.
And we have so many cases where policemen killed themselves, or it's claimed that they would have killed themselves. So it's they love to set examples to that everyone is frightened, and I have the feeling that all those in silence have to stand up against it worldwide and just protect the children in your surroundings, but also the others, because this group is really getting bigger and bigger. And worldwide, we are of the same opinion that at the moment, with these enormous child abductions from governmental side, they are creating armies out of these children. So we can have a guess why they are needing these armies, but if we don't stand up now, it will be much more difficult or nearly impossible, in my opinion, in 20 years,
Right, but why do they need an army? Whereas in the meantime, with all those hyper-frequency weapons, mind control weapons, they're zombifying the population, the masses, worldwide, the ones that are experiencing all those hyper-frequency waves and microwaves and the scalar waves and all those HARP technologies and the Tesla technologies on mind control. So, and it's everywhere in the media, in your TV screen, in your cell phone, in all the technology, your computer. So why do they need to raise an army if everyone is zombified already? Because there's more and more awakening, and probably in consciousness awakening among the newborn.
More and more are just concerned, Mark. More and more families realize, oh my God, we're the next. Now we are concerned. So many are awaking by being concerned, and to hold them down, to go on, cover up the crime. In my opinion, it's needed to suppress them via police forces, via military forces, and that's my humble impression, that they need it for their own folks, actually.
Right.
But I don't know, maybe even for other reasons, but this is my impression.
So the agents of them, who do you think is behind this occult ring and the shadow government that needs this energy extraction and all this mind control on the cattle that represents the newborn babies and the toddlers and the children that are gifted, actually? Because they don't always target the most gifted, though, right? Some don't have to be more gifted than others, and they're targeted as well, right?
I mean, every child is gifted and every child is brilliant, but I think sometimes the parents can't see it,
Right.
But nevertheless, the question, I mean, this is also what I'm doing intensive research, and we also talked about it, Mark. I'm always landing at the former Nazis in the Vatican, meaning the First Reich agents. But I have no idea for whom they're working. Is this the top, or are behind? Is there behind another group hiding? I have no idea. But these are the most important ones. I can see, I can realize. Werner von Braun, the Braun family, still is in action with their successors. These are the ones really they got visible. This is highest hierarchy. There are famous pictures of Werner von Braun besides Adolf Hitler, and Werner von Braun is the boss. You see it, you know. And then after a few years, you see the picture with Werner von Braun besides Kennedy. And again, Werner von Braun is the boss. It's so amazing from the body language, you know. So this is, and the Vatican with the Black Pope, this is what I realize, these are the highest hierarchies I can see. If there's behind some more hierarchies, I don't know. I've not found out, but I would love to know.
Yeah, well, you know, we in hypnotic regressions we've noticed a few testimonies. Now, you know, can we consider as in the first that there is real 100% real, but there's so many common points and case figures between testimonies and hypnosis. Then we can tell that there's a low astral archonic connection with demons, devils, some Dracos, some reptilian species, and some greys. So there's also interdimensional beings being involved with it, and so there's a whole connection that is not human behind it, and that you're seeing that they're trying to make, they're trying to trigger possession among kids, you know, evil possessions, because even your own kid testified and said it was evil mummy. So, and you saw him with black eyes and talking ancient languages. So it's all about possession, but possession for whom? And this energy profits. Well, this energy is geared towards control, predation, and the top of the pyramid is always the same. This is the archonic powers that have taken over this matrix for hundreds of thousands of years, and the way to do it is raise awareness. To get beyond that is to raise awareness and get everyone connected. That has come to the conclusions that we need to build a new society, and foundations need to be built up, from the ground up, and not based on the corrupt elites. Well, elites or psychopaths that are ruling us. We have a few minutes left. Andrea, I'm going to give you the final word. What would you expect? What is your dream for 2017? For your case, for your own case, your own son and your own family and your own sanity, I would say, and health.
Well, okay. My dream is that I get Lucky back, meaning the full custody for him, and of course the how's it called? Yes, Lucky back. So I would immediately and officially, because I even asked court for this officially, I would then just leave officially with him Austria. And settle down in another country. Okay. This is my personal dream. I would prefer, but being realistically, because it would be the first child that is given out of a trauma-based mind control program. I just hope that the awareness is rising, that people are facing what's going on there, because now we also face the situation that everyone is more intelligent than the next, so it's good to have the self-confidence, but it's very important to also work hard and doing hard working research, because it's not coming by sitting and listening a few YouTube videos. It's reading books, reading documents, going back to the origins. reading even the Book of Death from old Egypt. So really doing profound research, at least that I'm talking about trauma-based mind control. If there are many topics, you know. And the next thing is, I think it's we have to stop just to watch others uncovering. We have to help them. We have to stand next to them. We have to support them, because they are just, you know, they are just killing them in the first row. So what's going on when we all are killed, you know? Next generation can start at zero. Protect the knowledge. Save copies of interviews, save copies of websites, save copies of books even. We don't know what will be in 5 years here, you know? And share the information, talk about it, discuss it, and if you have any questions to me, I'm happy and prepared to answer everything. What I know, of course. If you have doubts about it, just contact me, it's no problem. Of course, I'm not going to answer any fake hoax, blah, blah things, you know, because I don't have the time for it. But if you have honest questions, no problem. I take the time and answer them. This is my ending or my hopes for the next year. And yes, and I also hope that more are joining, more are seeing the need we are living in. So I hope they are donating something for Christmas. This would be my wish for 2017. Right.
That would be a great Christmas gift and present for you and for the upcoming year. And also, all those cases are out there. You know, Germany, the UK, America, France, Austria, and mothers need to talk and come forward and come out of the closet and not be scared to talk publicly about those cases. You know, instead of handing over your babies to those sadistic psychopaths, so that they can extract demonic energies out of them, and also slow down our awakening, because by attacking and molesting children, they're trying to slow down our awakening as a species. That's what's going on, and those are the stakes for 2017, and everything revolves around the mind control, basically. So who controls the mind controls the whole planet and the whole species. So we're hoping for 2017 that the horizon will get brighter. And thanks to ladies like you, Andrea, at least children have hope to at least get a chance to come out of their molestation and abuse that they've been experiencing for thousands of years now. So thank you, Andrea. Thank you, and happy holidays, nevertheless. And we'll see you soon again, I hope, and with better news on your end.
Okay, thank you, Mark, for having me.
Happy holidays to everyone, and we'll see you next year. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Cheers.